Okay. So the challenge, right? Most businesses, they want to make sure their data is continuously available, whether it's being used in applications or just needed for basic business decisions, right? So they look for high availability types of systems, and typical high availability systems from a storage perspective means you're going to go get into SAN type architectures, and that typically means you got to go down a fiber channel path, or you get into a lot of fabric type discussions. So it's a more complex discussion, or that people necessarily may not want to have. So one of the things that we wanted to do with putting the solution together is really make it an easier to use solution for that SMB customer. And how we're doing that, we're leveraging some of the capabilities that Microsoft has developed. So in Windows Server 2012 R2, their failover clustering capability is one of the key components as part of this reference architecture. It gives the ability to have continuous availability based on that failover clustering, so each of the nodes becomes active and in that kind of active scenario. So if in case one of the servers goes down, the other server picks up where it left off, so there's no interruption in terms of data or processing. So the solution that we put together, this is kind of a network diagram, if you will, of the solution. Basically, 2 Think servers connected to one SA120, leveraging Windows Server 2012 in each of the servers, and what we're calling the Synchro CS controller. So these are LSI Synchro controllers. So each one would be sitting in each of the servers and managing the failover capability, and also giving you hardware RAID in the process. So it's a validated solution. We've tested it in multiple configurations. So again, we've got a white paper on this that Kathy can provide. This is kind of how it would look, basically 2 servers to one SA120. So in this example, the red cable, so that you're using both external SAS ports from each of the controllers going out to different I/O controllers on the SA120. So there's no single point of failure in any of this configuration. So if something fails, if a server goes down, the other server picks it up. If an I/O controller goes down, the other I/O controller is available. So it's a highly redundant, high availability solution, really ideally suited for that SMB customer, that needs that 24/7 access to data or applications. And the white paper itself kind of goes through. It's very lengthy. I will say that, because it goes through a step-by-step as to how you set this up. But the first 10 pages or so, it's really more about the value and what you can do with it. And there's really 2 major use cases that we talk to. One is an application cluster, so you could configure 2 servers running Hyper-V, so you could put your VMs in there. Maybe you've got 10 or 20 VMs and you want to have it in a high availability state. You can do that. Maybe you've got Exchange. You think about something, places like a law firm that they want to make sure they have their email up all the time, and it's in a high availability scenario. So it'd be a nice place to put Exchange in that Hyper-V scenario, and you can have that application, or maybe it's a business critical application that they want to make sure doesn't go down. You can have that in that Hyper-V cluster and have that high availability solution. The other piece is just the general storage cluster, right? It could just be 2 servers connected to the SA120, and it could be your high availability storage solution, right? Almost like an SMB version of a SAN, right? Basically, hey, I have data that I want to make sure I have. Maybe it's a database. I want to make sure I have all that data available to me, and I'm going to stick it in this high availability configuration, so I make sure that if something goes down, it's always going to be available. So it gives you a nice another option to the SA120. This solution here, it's not going to replace a high-end data center SAN. It's really targeted for that lower-end kind of SMB. I've got applications or I've got data that I want to make sure I have in a high availability configuration. So that's what the Synchro piece is. And then my last slide here, we've got a variety of different service options. You know, base warranty on the SA120 is 3 years, and there's a bunch of different options depending on what people are looking for, whether it's, you know, 8-hour or 4-hour on site, or, you know, keep your own drive kind of thing. So a lot of different options from a service perspective that people can choose from depending on what kind of requirements that they have. So with that, I think I will end it, and, you know, hopefully that information was useful, and I'll take any questions that people have at this point.
Thank you for your time this morning. It looks like that the questions that we had come in, we sent over to you, and you actually answered that in the second part of the webinar, which was the dual controller option within one, or dual controllers within 2 separate boxes.
Okay.
So we saw that you could have 2 ports on one controller, and then we also saw that you could have 2 cards and 2 controllers. Could you have 2 cards in one box connected to both controllers, so you'd have redundancy of SCSI cards?
So you can have 2. So there is, well, the short answer is yes. There is a limitation. You can have 2 of the 9280 cards. You cannot have 2 of the 9286 in a single server.
But that would then give you redundancy of controller. So in case the first controller failed within the box, the LSI controller, the second card could then take over.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that was the only question that we had. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for attending this. We appreciate Lenovo's time to be able to bring this great information to us. Thank you for your time, John.
Yep, thank you.
This concludes the VAS storage solution on the SA120 from Lenovo.
All right. Thank you very much.